Hart at the Hazbin Hotel, Chapter 7. Now, here's a character I've been wanting to put into the story for everybody to meet. Let's have some sister dramas, shall we? Plus, there might be a little something that comes out here. I guess we'll find out. Here we go. Chapter 7. Sister Impacts. After my date with Alistair, another 3 months went by. All I can say is that it's been the greatest time in hell I've ever had. All thanks to this one demon. Our relationship was still a secret, but that was fine with me, though. The right time will come for those to know. Although recently, I noticed I've been down about something lately. I was starting to miss my sister a little. Many times I thought about going back to my home and stopping by to see her, but I just couldn't get the guts for it. Besides, I honestly started to think, if Lizzie hasn't gone out looking for me, that just shows that she probably never did care about me. I love my sister, but if she didn't want to show that she loved me back, it hurts slightly. Maybe it was something I had to face. I mean, fuck. My parents didn't even know I was down here for the last 75 years. What's the whole lifetime? Besides, I saw my life in hell. It was standing in front of me. He was keep kissing me deeply against his hotel room door. A fantasy? No, a reality. I wanted to greet him this nice morning at his room before I went off to help around the hotel. Before I even knocked on his door, he had pulled me inside and pushed me up against his door. Alistair finally pulled away, letting me catch my breath. "Good morning, my love," he purred as he cupped my cheek. I gave a small chuckle. "Good morning, Al. May I ask where this came from?" I asked him as I pointed to my lips. The kiss was so random. Alistair gave me a devilish smile. "Let's just say I dreamed about kissing you all night. I couldn't wait another moment." He now made me blush. Did he really dream about me? He could have just been making it up so that it was an excuse to get a reaction out of me. Either way, it was sweet. He chuckled at me. "I seem to have made you speechless. Cat got your tongue?" he asked jokingly. I gave him a small smile. "No, but I can say a deer does." I leaned back up and gave him a quick kiss on his cheek. Alistair let out one of his small radio laughs as he fixed his monocle. "You know how to get to me, my dear," I giggled. "Now, as much as I'd like to stay with you all day, I have stuff I need to get done." I reached for his door handle, but I was stopped when his arms wrapped around me. "Al," I groaned. "I'll be with you all night, I promise." Alistair let go of me and I opened the door, but he grabbed my hand as I was halfway out into the hallway. "May I ask you something?" he started. "Sure, what is it?" I wondered. "Would you like to sleep in my room tonight?" "With me?" Alistair asked. He seemed confident when he asked me. But then again, he could just be masking it when he was nervous to ask me. I had to think a moment. If he was asking me, that means he was probably comfortable with it, or at least wanted to see how it would be. I was taking everything at his own pace. I was letting him take the reins for everything. I wanted him to be okay with his own comfort level. Him asking me, well, that means that he was ready. He must have noticed I was lost in thought. "Did I break you?" I snapped at it. No, I'm okay. I was just surprised by the question." He was still holding my hand, so I took my other hand and covered his. "I wouldn't mind at all sleeping in your room tonight." "I'd be happy to." Alistair's grin grew bigger. "Wonderful!" Our moment was broken when I heard someone running down the hallway. I looked and saw it was Charlie. "Hart!" She waved and then came up to me. "Hart, I have something to tell you," she started. Alistair let go of my hand and I turned my attention to the demon princess. "What's wrong, Charlie?" I asked. "Well, how do I put this? She took a pause. "You have a visitor." I was surprised. "Me? Are you sure?" "They asked for you directly. They're waiting outside. I invited them in, but they refused to take a step in here," Charlie told me. My mind was trying to think, who would be here for me? I knew no one. There was only one demon I could think of that would know Lizzie. But how did she find me? Also, why was she here? What did she want? I let out a small sigh. Okay, I'll go greet them. Do you want me to go with you? Alistair asked me as I started to walk. I turned and looked back at him. No. If it is who I think it is, I should be okay. Alistair bowed. As you wish. Charlie and I started to walk down the hallway together. We walked down the steps and to the door. Charlie grabbed my shoulder. Are you sure you're going to be okay? They looked pissed. I nodded. If I need help, I'll let you know, but I'm hoping it won't come to that. Charlie nodded and backed up a little from the door. I took a breath and opened the door and stepped outside. I didn't see anyone at first, but I then saw a figure not far away leaning against the pole of the hotel. A female white wolf demon with a red underbelly and a star tattooed on each of her outer thighs. Her tail was white at the tip, but had different colors going up it. Red, dark red, then black. Her hair was white, but had some black highlight bangs. A few piercings on both of her ears. She wore a ripped tube top with a leather jacket, and ripped shorts that covered her upper thighs. She was there, smoking a cigarette. When I stepped over to her, she looked up and smiled. Well, fuck me till I'm blue. You are here! She blew out her cigarette smoke and threw the butt on the ground and stepped on it. I should have known to look for you first here, knowing you, Hart. It's nice to see you too, sister, I greeted, crossing my arms. I tell you what, you're a lot harder to find than I thought, Lizzie said as she walked over from the pole and stood in front of me. You were looking for me? I asked, amazed. Not at first, but I did notice you were gone since I never saw you much to begin with, Lizzie said. I figured that would be the answer, but I let her continue. Soon I noticed that more and more of your stuff was gone, but I still smelled your scent around the house. When your scent started to fade, I knew that something was up. She took another cigarette out and lit it. How did you know I was here? I wondered. At first I wasn't sure. I looked at some places in the city, quiet places. Places that didn't have any people, even your favorite coffee shop. Nowhere. She took a puff of her cigarette. Until I found out about this place. Lizzie went into her pocket and pulled out a piece of paper and showed it to me. I took it and looked at it closely. It was a flyer I helped Charlie make for the hotel to get some more business. I don't understand how you got that I was here from this, I told her, folding up the flyer again. Lizzie let out a laugh. Ha! Shit, sister, I know you. She looked at me sternly. You always talked about how you hated it here, how you didn't want to belong here, you wanted to be in heaven away from all this shit. All that stuff I heard you whisper to yourself at night for the last few years I've lived with you. She took another hit of her cigarette. When I heard this place was a place of redemption and trying to be good so you can repent, I put the puzzle pieces together quickly. She took another hit and blew the smoke in my face. Her smoke didn't affect me. I know she was just trying to intimidate me, get a reaction out of me. I didn't want her to get to me. It's true, I came here for redemption. That was the plan, I told her calmly. You know, you were always the goody two-shoes, Miss Perfect. She spat at my feet, then took off her leather jacket. I hated you for that. But guess what, Perfect? You still ended up down here. Know what that means? She finished her cigarette. You're just as fucked up as anyone else here. She flicked the butt at me. It bounced off my arm and fell to the ground. Lizzie, if all you're going to do is come here and mock me, then I'm going to have to ask you to leave, I said, my eyes not leaving her. To think, I was missing her. Not now. Sometimes I forget how much of a bitch she can actually be, especially to me. Lizzie laughed. I didn't come here for that dumb shit. I came to make up your mind about all this. Make up my mind? I was confused. About this shit show of a hotel you call home right now, she yelled as she gestured up to the building. This place isn't a shit show, thank you very much. I looked towards the door. It's a place full of misfits and people who don't fit in, sure, but it's not what you think. It's better than that, I tried to explain. Misfits? Lizzie huffed and she waved her hands at me. Listen, Hart, I came here to take you back home. Forget about this. Lizzie, I can't do that. I belong here now. I had an idea. You know, you can always check in here too. You just have to play nice if you just... I started, but she got angry and interrupted me. Stay here? Who the fuck do you think I am? She yelled. You're my little sister, and I still try to look out for you the best I can. I shouted. Fuck you. You never looked out for me. I'm your half-sister, may I remind you as well. Lizzie grunted. Then, before I could even react, Lizzie jumped at me. I wasn't expecting it at all. She pinned me down and punched me in the face a few times. I managed to push her off me, but she stood on all fours, now growling at me. Lizzie can go from an anthro form to a feral form with ease. Lizzie, I don't want to do this, I told her with my hands up. Too bad! She jumped at me again, but I ducked in time and she jumped over me. I didn't like to do this. I didn't want many people to know. I can transform into a feral form of myself. If I wanted to have a chance to fighting off Lizzie, it was my only option. I got down on all fours, and soon I started it covered in fur. My fur was black, and my hands and feet turned into paws. My clothes would be ripped when I got into this form, but I didn't care. I was in wolf form, but my wings still stood out on my back and my horns on my head. Lizzie looked at me and growled again. I jumped at her, and we tumbled around on the ground a moment. Teeth and claws going everywhere, barks and screeches we let out as we rolled. She left a few scratches on me, but I managed to put a few bite marks on her. We must have been making enough noise because the door of the hotel opened and Charlie and Vaggie stood in the doorway. I pinned Lizzie down, but she managed to push me off. Lizzie, stop this! I don't want to do this with you, I yelled at her. Not until you give out this fantasy of yours, she growled and ran at me again. I flapped my wings to make myself jump up, and I landed on her back and pinned her down. I looked down at Lizzie. It's not fantasy! I'm here for a different reason now besides rehabilitation. I can't come home with you even if I wanted to, I told her. What other reason would you have to stay here? She used a lot of strength and managed to push me off her. I used my wings to hover a moment. What crazy reason would you have? I looked at the doorway again. I saw that we had made enough noise that everyone was now outside. Then I saw him in the back. Alistair. I never wanted to have him see me like this. Guess it was too late now, though. I turned back to Lizzie and landed on the ground. I've made friends here. I even met someone that actually cares about me. I bared my teeth. Someone that cares about you? Don't make me laugh. Lizzie slashed out her paw and scratched my front left leg. I yelled in pain and picked up my injured leg. Lizzie took the chance and rammed herself into my side, making me fly back. I landed with a thud on my side. Give up, sister. You know I've always been a better fighter than you. Lizzie gloated as she stalked over to me. I'll never give up. Not to you, I told her, trying to sit up. Lizzie stood up on her two legs and kicked me. No one cares about you here. Yes, they do, I breathed once I got my breath back. I care about you. She kicked me again. She sure had a funny way of showing it. I then saw out of the corner of my eye, Alistair was not happy. People had stepped away from him. I saw the world around him distort and fill with static, his eyes glowing even brighter. Lizzie grabbed me by the neck fur and picked me up. I was just dead weight. I saw her reach back and try to punch me, but she had stopped, and then I fell to the ground as she dropped me. Something stopped her. Or should I say, someone. A pink aura has surrounded Lizzie. I automatically knew it was Alistair. What the fuck? She looked down at herself and then back at me. What the fuck did you do to me? I managed to get back up on my paws and looked to see Alistair had stepped up from behind everyone and had a clawed hand raised at Lizzie. I appreciated him helping me, but I needed to finish this without his help. Alistair, please! I looked at him fully, his eyes glowing. Let her go! This is my fight. She's my sister. Let me handle it. I saw that Alistair was hesitant, but I slowly watched him lower his hand and the pink aura around Lizzie disappeared. His crimson eyes went back to normal, but I saw that he was angered still. Lizzie caught her breath and looked at me. "You bitch! Having someone interfere with this?" "I would never. He acted on his own accord. You know I always tried to fight fair," I growled. Lizzie got back on all fours. "And you know that I fight dirty." She kicked up some dirt in my face and tackled me back down. I was expecting her to attack me again, but she didn't. I tried to get the dirt out of my eyes. When I got most of it the best I could, I saw her smirk at me and then turn towards everyone at the doorway of the hotel. I saw her run after them. Out of everyone there, she chose him, even though he had just had her in his grasp. She wasn't afraid of him at all. She headed towards Alistair. "No!" I quickly got up, pushing past the pain and me not being able to see that well. I ran at her. I knew Alistair could take care of himself, but I didn't want him to harm my sister. Using my wings to get more speed, I pushed off the ground. "Leave him alone!" I yelled and landed on top of her again to stop her in her tracks. I got off her and stood in front of Alistair, my teeth showing, and I growled deeply. "Stay away from him!" I growled and opened my wings, and my fur started to stand up so I could intimidate her. Lizzie stood up in wobbly paws. "You don't scare me, nor does he. Don't fool me, sister." She jumped, but tried to jump over me, but I knew she would, so I got my paws underneath her and threw her back instead. She couldn't get footing, so she fell on her side. "I said, leave him alone!" I yelled and ran up to her. She stood back up. "Why are you protecting him? He's just another demon who doesn't give a shit." "That's not true." I got to her and put my paws on her and pushed her, this time with claws out. She was trying to hold me back. "Then why are you protecting him?" she demanded again and managed to push me away from her. She had finally got me too far. I let it slip. "Because I love him!" I screamed. There was a silence, and I heard a few gasps. Oh shit. The cat got out of the bag. My ears fell back in fear. I was afraid to look back at anyone, especially at Alistair. We promised to keep ourselves a secret till we felt it was all ready. Guess that won't happen now. "I'm sorry, Al." I apologized in my mind. All Lizzie did was laugh. "You're fucking with me, right? Tell me you're joking." She laughed again, and I looked at her with slanted eyes. "You're supposed to be here for a rehabilitation, right?" She huffed. "What happens when that's over, huh? When you're redeemed? Guess what? You'll be leaving him behind, you stupid fuck. He won't go with you. How's that supposed to work?" I took a moment. My head cast down to the ground. When my rehabilitation was over, she was right. If I finished my rehabilitation here, then I'd be free. I could escape here, and I could go to heaven. At the same time, though, I'm leaving Alistair behind. I also know that Alistair will never redeem himself either. It's just how he was. He liked it here. He was gifted. My heart broke at the thought. I couldn't do that. Not to him. "Didn't think that one through now, did you, sweetheart?" Lizzie mocked. I shook my head in anger. I looked up at my sister. "Leave, Lizzie. Now." I stopped my paw on the ground. Tears filled my eyes. She huffed and stood back up on her 2 feet. "Fine, I'll leave. If you want to come back, though, you know where to find me." She grabbed her leather jacket, where she left it, and ran off up the street until I couldn't see her anymore. My tears finally started to fall. My legs began to shake. I sat down on my hunches. My crying got harder, and it shook my body. Why? Why did she have to come? Why was she so insistent on finding me? I didn't understand. She came here and made me fight back, pushed me too far. She made me start to think of my reasons for being here. Rehabilitation. I was doing it. I made progress. This probably pushed me down a few notches. I didn't care. I probably shouldn't be here anyway, after falling in love with Alistair. Lizzie made me realize that I shouldn't be here anymore. At the same time, though, I still wanted to stay and help. I helped Charlie so much. I couldn't leave that. After all this, though, would she still want me around? If I told her I wanted to stop my rehabilitation, would she still let me stay here? My thoughts were broken when I felt the hand being placed on my head. The hand slowly stroked my fur. I looked up and behind me to see Alistair. Seeing him made me cry harder. "I'm sorry, Alistair," was all I was able to get out in a whisper. I looked back at the others, and they are all looking at me, some of their faces in shock. I didn't know what to think. I could only imagine what they were thinking of me, thinking of us. I started to feel my anxiety from everyone looking at me grow. I darted back into the hotel. I ran past everyone. I heard Charlie call my name. "Hart, come back!" But I didn't listen. I kept running. When I was running down the hallway, I transformed back into my normal form. I got to my room, slamming the door shut and locking it. I didn't want to face anyone today, not after all this. I put my head in my knees and cried. I looked at my arm and it was throbbing from the scratches Lizzie left me. All of me ached. I stood up and took off my clothes, discarding them piece at a time as I headed to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror and saw that I had a bruise on my cheek as well as a few small scratches all over me. I ran the shower and just stepped in. The warm water felt good on my aching body. I watched as my blood ran down the drain from my wounds. My tears still fell down my face. But in the shower, you wouldn't be able to tell. I put my back against the cold tile of the shower and wrapped my wings around me. "I'm sorry, Al. I'm sorry I broke our promise," I cried. I slid down until I was sitting in the tub of the shower. I could just imagine what everyone thought. I'm sure Alistair wasn't happy with me either. Why did my sister have to show up and do this to me? My life was finally looking up. Now I feel like I've crashed back down and I've died again. I might as well have. Third person point of view. Back outside. They all watched as Hart ran back into the hotel and up the stairs. This turn of events had really upset her. All of it being too much. From her sister showing up to her accidentally letting out a secret. No one wanted to follow her. Alistair didn't even want to follow, but he really wanted to. She needed to cool off and be alone. Alistair would give her her space. When Hart had disappeared, they all turned their attention to Alistair. He just stood there like nothing was the matter, although deep down, he was concerned. The ice was broken when Angel spoke first. "So did you fuck yet?" "No," Alistair quickly said, using his magic, and flung Angel back into a set of bushes not far off. Angel yelled in surprise from the action as he laid in the bushes. He said, "You virgin prick!" Husk went to the bush to help Angel, but he laughed at him the entire time. Maggie walked up to Alistair with a glare. "I still don't trust you. Even after all that Charlie has told me, the fact that Hart did all this to protect you when she didn't need to, I find that suspicious. What game are you playing?" Charlie went to Vaggie and grabbed her hand. "Vaggie, come on, just..." But she got cut off by Vaggie. Vaggie took her hand away from Charlie. "No, I don't like this, especially to a girl like Hart. She's too innocent for someone like him." Vaggie gestured to the deer demon. "Are you saying I'm not good enough for someone like her?" Alistair asked with a raised eyebrow. That one hurt him a little, but he didn't show it. "I'm saying you're not good enough for anyone because you do everything for your own selfish gain." Vaggie pointed to him with a stern look. "You're just using that girl just so you can feel special. Guess what, Alistair? You're not. Don't use innocent souls just so you can feel love for the first time in your life. You heartless bastard." She turned and stormed off into the hotel. Alistair watched Vaggie walk away. He tried not to let the Moth Girl demon's words affect him. She just didn't understand. Everything he did was true. But it was just a side of himself he never knew he had. He still was trying to get the hang of it. Affection. A new thing for him. But he seemed to be doing pretty good so far. Hart loved him, and that he knew was true. I'll prove you wrong, Alistair whispered. Charlie walked up to the radio demon. Alistair, I'm sorry Vaggie just snapped at you like that. No worries, my dear, Alistair said, waving her off. She just doesn't understand. Charlie sighed. Don't worry, I'm sure she'll change her mind after a little while. I don't see her changing her mind, dearie, although it would probably make it easier if it does, Alistair admitted. Charlie almost felt bad for the guy. All he wanted was to feel loved freely, not to be judged by his title and his past. Sure, Alistair liked to show off sometimes and talk, but she knew that he deeply down cared about Hart. Husk eventually got Angel out of the bush, and Angel tried to pick off some of the leaves from him. He walked up with an anger. You have a lot of nerve, strawberry boy. But then his expression changed to a seductive look. You know, if you need help at all with seduction, you know where to find me. He gave Alistair a wink and walked inside. Not going to happen, Alistair said as Angel walked. God, you're so lame, Angel said as he threw his arms up in the air in frustration. Husk didn't give much to say, unfortunately. Alistair was his friend, so he at least gave him some words. Good luck, was all he said, and walked back into the hotel. Charlie was now the only one left standing outside with Alistair. Just so you know, with this now, you guys don't have to be behind closed doors, Charlie said, and that made Alistair smile. Especially that kitchen door. Charlie started to walk back inside on that. There's no lock on that, Charlie said jokingly over her shoulder. Alistair chuckled at that thought. That kitchen was more magical with Hart in it. Less lonely. He was glad to have her around. That smile in the corner of the kitchen he would take over anything, any day. Alistair realized that maybe he should go check on the poor girl, so he headed inside and closed the door behind him. He walked past the kitchen and heard some yelling. Sounded like Vaggie. Hopefully she wasn't ruining the pots and stuff in there. He walked up the stairs and slowly down the hallway. His heels clicked on the floor as he walked. He soon arrived at Hart's door. He didn't know of her condition, but he had to see her. He checked the doorknob first. Locked. She did want people out. Alistair then tried to knock. Hart, my dearest, may I come in? He waited a moment, but got no answer. He got no noise of feet going across the floor. He knocked again. I would really like to see you to make sure you're all right. Again, Alistair got no answer. He put his ear up against the door to see if he could hear anything from the other side. He heard water running. Was she getting a shower? Alistair was still worried about her well-being and her injuries. Normally, he wouldn't do this, but he was afraid for her, especially since she was not answering him. Using a shadow, he made it go under the door and unlock it from the inside. He heard a click and then turned the doorknob. When he entered inside, he saw a trail of clothes that led to the bathroom door. It was open ajar. Steam was pouring out. The water could still be heard running. Alistair slowly made his way to the door. So that he wouldn't invade her privacy, unless necessary, he stood by the door and gave it a gentle knock. Sweetheart, are you okay? He heard a sniffle and then the sound of a slippery tub with someone standing up. The water then turned off. All he heard was his name. Alistair? End of chapter. Ooh, I left you all on a cliffhanger. You're gonna hate me for that. Anyway, all the events of this chapter will be continued in chapter 8.